All right, we're back. We are COMP1073 in the winter 2017 semester at Georgian. It's client-side scripting, and we're week 12, part 1 of our broadcast. We're talking about assignment 4 today, right? This is our last assignment for the semester, and I have to also say that this assignment, assignment 4, will also be the assignment that we're using for that's going to prep you for the exam. Okay, so if you don't do assignment 4, then the exam will be more difficult for you. If you do assignment 4, then the exam will be pretty straightforward. Okay, so assignment 4. Let's talk about that a little bit. Then we'll go into how to build out a CreateJS project, what that is, and all that stuff. So it should be available to you online. If you actually go on your Blackboard now, and we're going to go into it. It's called a JavaScript Banner Ad. I'm just going to close the door. All right, so what is this thing that I'm asking you to do? Again, this is due week 14. So right now we're sitting at week 12. It means you have a couple weeks to get this done, right? So week 14, what you're going to have is this, you're going to produce the project, right? Now it's due April 18th. That's the Tuesday night, again, before your exam. It's good practice. If you get this done, and if you just do your assignment number 4, then the exam, like I said, will be very straightforward. If you don't do assignment number 4, if you have somebody do it for you or with you, then it'll be much more difficult for your exam because you're going to have a limited time frame. Okay? Let's talk about what this is. So remember, your exam for finals is on the day of the last week of class, which is would be April 19th, right? Except 2 weeks from today, right? Now it's happening straight at 12, right? So between 12 and 3, right? I'm not sure if I'll give you the whole 3 hours to do it. It may not be that big, but I will not allow anyone in after 12:30. So if you come in after 12:30, right, you won't be able to write your exam. So please be on time. For people who are watching remotely, I will broadcast this as well, right? So 12:30 will be your cutoff. When you're here after 12:30 and you're working on your exam, you got to stay. If you're in past an hour and a half, you're going to stay till the remainder of the exam. You can't leave, right? If you're done within an hour and a half, you can certainly go on your merry way, and then we'll see you when we see you, right? But just letting you know. So I'll do a bit of an exam prep next week and figuring out everything else that I'm going to put on the exam. I'll give you hints. Most likely for the exam, before I get into the assignment, I'm going to have a starter that I'm going to give you. So I'm going to give you some starter code, and then from there, you're going to fill it in and finish it off, right? So there's going to be some things that you won't have to do, right? For example, if there's any libraries that you need, that'll all be included in the starter, like Bower install or any of that stuff, because it's not important. It's just functionality that I'm looking for, right? Okay, so that's the exam a little bit. But what you're building here is you're going to make a JavaScript banner ad. All right, now banner ads are not as popular as they used to be, but they still exist all over the place, right? You go on a site and it asks you to click to view the ad or get information about something. Now they're discouraged in different places, but they're allowed in other places. And sometimes what we want to do is we want to use I'll call it a civilized banner ad on a website to highlight feature, product features, or a special products that you want to sell with a special pricing and all that kind of stuff, right? That's what really we use banner ads for nowadays. Okay, we don't use them to trick you to clicking to get people to come to your website and all that stuff. All those things are pretty much outlawed. We don't do them. Okay, but other ads like, hey, I want you guys to take a look at this new movie, like this kind of banner ad. Or, if you want to get information on, 50% off of Amazon, something like that, you'll see those kinds of ads all over the place, right? Blocker on, it doesn't matter, right? Because ad blocker will only block things like pop-ups. This is not that. I'm not making a pop-up. I discourage that from everyone. I don't want anyone to make those kind of things, right? But when it comes to making banner ads that work, there is a whole white paper on how to do this. We'll talk about this later on. So you're going to use a library called CreateJS. That's what the library is called. I kind of talked about this last week. CreateJS is not just used for for games. It can be used to make games or any kind of interactive media, right? But also used for things like banner ads and websites that are dynamic, that have motion graphics attached to them, all right? CreateJS, and I'll kind of go into that in a second. We talked about this briefly, but if I go to the CreateJS website, like we did last time, with CreateJS, it's a suite of products. So you have Easel.js, Tween.js, Sound.js, and Preload.js, right? These are all the different pieces to the product, right? And each of these pieces is its own little library. Remember we talked about jQuery last week? It might taste good, you know, but it's not good for you, right? That's a huge library, and we need it to build out our, kind of, simple things like Ajax, makes things easier, makes life easier. So too does CreateJS make life easier when it comes to building things with the canvas element, right? HTML has a canvas element, and the canvas element can be used as a container where we can project any kind of graphics that we want. And we'll talk about this in a bit, right? So we're going to learn this today and next week, and then you'll have to be producing your assignment by the following week. All right, so that's really, CreateJS is a group of libraries, JavaScript libraries that we're going to be exploring. It also talks in the blog, right? The person who created CreateJS is Grant Skinner. He's actually a very popular, I guess, a web developer. He has his own website. And the great thing about him is he kind of wrote a white paper on HTML banner ads with CreateJS, right? So now this came out in 2015, but it's very relevant today. So think about this. You're not using Flash anymore because Flash is kind of abandoned, right? But you want to do something similar to what Flash could have done years ago with JavaScript. So this is kind of going to wrap in all the stuff you've learned about JavaScript to date all together, because you need to use functions. We're going to break things probably across different files, right, with JavaScript. We talked about this. We're going to start from scratch today. I'm going to start from an application. I'm not going to base it on another application that I've already had. I want to kind of build it with you from scratch, right? Because I don't need Bootstrap for this one. I don't need Font Awesome because I'm not going to use Font Awesome or Bootstrap, right? For this demo, it's strictly just CreateJS. I'm focusing on that today, right? Do I need jQuery? I don't need jQuery for CreateJS. It has its own built-in JavaScript engine that we're going to be using. There's also a series of documents that I'm going to be going over today. The docs pertains to the different JavaScript, the libraries that are contained in the suite, right? So Easel.js is what we're mostly going to be focusing on over the next 2 weeks, just one, right? There are others. We just don't have the time to explore every one of them, right? And they're, if you want to make games, most likely you're going to use all of these, right? Sometimes if we want to make some simple animations, we can just use Tween.js, right, with Easel.js or by itself, right? And if we just want to make sounds in the browser, we can use Sound.js. And if I want to preload graphics and that kind of thing, sounds and graphics, it's done through Preload.js. So they have a bunch of little helper libraries to help you build out your project the way you want. Now, here's the great thing about CreateJS. It's unopinionated, right? So you can use it the way you want, right? It's not like a heavier framework, like, for example, AngularJS, right? It's not that kind of front-end framework, right? It's not a framework. It's just a suite of libraries, okay? That's a good thing. The difference between a framework and a suite of libraries is a framework is very opinionated. You must use things in a certain pattern, in a certain way. And whereas if you're using a suite of libraries like CreateJS, you can choose to use some, all, or none of all the pieces if you want. It's not required to use all of them, right? So if I was going to make a game, I could use CreateJS. And sometimes what we do is we use a framework like Phaser, right? So if I looked at Phaser.js, here's Phaser. If I'm making HTML5 games, I might use something like Phaser as well. Between Phaser and CreateJS, Phaser is more on the opinionated side. It uses a framework. See the word framework? That means you must do things in a certain way, right, to make use of Phaser. And that's great. But you know what? A lot of times I prefer to make it piecemeal and use something like CreateJS to build things up from the ground up. It's almost like building it yourself, but it has a lot of little helper libraries to help you do it. We'll go over everything with you today, starting today. Okay. So that's what you're building. You're building for assignment 4. You're building this banner ad, right? And I'm going to talk about the details. Your project page is from your mini portfolio site. So you're going to, this is going to be an add-on onto your mini portfolio site, another add-on. I'm kind of building. So I'm building your portfolio site so it's better and better and better, right? And what I want you to do here is create a banner ad with CreateJS, right? That promotes your projects. Okay, that's what the idea is here, right? So you have a project that you want to talk about on your portfolio. I want you to use a little banner ad to promote your project. Okay, hey, take a look at my project. It's really cool, right? And we're going to talk about how to do that. Okay, so part 1 is your ad content and functionality, right? So your ad must promote one or more of your projects, okay? You must include animated text that provides some information about the project you're promoting with a hook to click on the ad. In other words, click me here to see my latest project. Take a look, I'm doing IoT. Take a look at this, I just did this. You know, get the user to click on the ad, all right, by asking them to do so. Your ad must include animated graphics. We'll talk about what that means. Do I want you to do like someone walking animated? No, right? Something moving? Yes, right? So most like motion graphics is more of what I should be putting in there, right? Relative to the, or relevant to the project you're promoting, right? So something that's, you know, relevant. So text and graphics that move around, basically, right? Your ad will accept the user's mouse click, which will redirect the user to the related project page. So it must be like a clickable ad, something you can click on and it's going to redirect them to that page. That's all it is, right? From a functionality and content perspective. Structure. Your ad must be structured according to the following parameters, right? So I'm not going to let you make an ad any size you want. It must be adhering to these, one of these 5 sizes, okay? 68 by 60. That's a banner, 468 wide by 60 high, right? That's what I'm talking about. So that's width and height, right? Square, 250 by 250, okay? A rectangle, 300 by 250, right? Skyscraper, 120 by 600, so on the side somewhere, right? Mobile banner, right? So it's 320 by 100, so it's only for mobile. So you're making it for mobile, right? One of these, right, is what your ad must be. I don't expect you to make all of these or multiple ads, just one, okay? Graphical layout. Ads must take up the entire space of the image size you've chosen. So if you make an ad that's 468 by 60, please don't make the ad so that it's 10 by 10, right? Or make it too big, right? Any graphics or whatever must fit inside that space. You must utilize the entire space of your ad. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Ads cannot be segmented, all right? Contain multiple copies of itself within the ad, okay? So you can't like make the ad mirror itself somehow to create a weird effect, right? Don't do that, right? Or appear to be more than one ad. Don't split the ad into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. I'm not looking for that. Just one big ad, all right? So this is the layout and the parameters you need to follow. Right? It's very specific, right? Relevance and quality. Ads must be relevant to the projects you're promoting, all right? So the ad images must be clear and recognizable with legible text. So if I can't see the text, you'll lose marks, right? Marks will be deducted for unclear, blurry, or unrecognizable images that are used, right? So this is part of the design aspect of the course, right? Strobing and flashing. Do not include strobing or flashing backgrounds, okay? That's not allowed. All right, so don't do one of these that kind of sends a light over, over and over again. Hey, click me. Don't do that, right? Trick to click, right? In other words, you have an ad that says, your computer has a problem. Click here to help me, right? So I can send you, I can give you some help. And you click on it, it takes you to the website, your project page. Hey, there's my project, right? That's a trick to click. Don't do that, right? None of those funky ones, right? So, so do not include ad behaviors that might trick a user into clicking the ad. Example, ads pretending to be the system or site warning. You know, you have an error on your page, please click here to fix. Don't do that, right? Ads trying to mimic or resemble Windows, Mac, Unix, or Chrome OS dialog boxes or error messages, anything like that, right? Don't include that. If you don't, you get a mark right away. If you do something like that, you'll lose a mark, okay? I've done this for a bunch of reasons because I've had, you know, kind of submissions that are just whack, right? Some really weird submissions, right? And I have to put these things in there to protect me from seeing stuff that I shouldn't be seeing, you know, because once you see something, you can't unsee it, right? I don't want to see those kind of ads. Family safe ads. Ads must include appropriate content. So please, no swearing, no lewd pictures, This is supposed to be on your portfolio site. So nothing about, no naked images. I'm just telling you straight up, right? None of that. I know I've had all kinds of stuff handed to me before, and I'm just being honest and telling you that this is sometimes happens. Your ad may not have any sound embedded. So please don't make it so that it makes noise. That's really annoying nowadays, okay? So no sound, okay? You can't click on it, when you click on it, it doesn't go click, click. It doesn't do that. It doesn't make a yay sound, nothing like that, okay? There's no sounds in your ad, all right? And your ad's animation must stop upon my click and link to your mini portfolio project page. So it's not like it's gonna just continue. And it's going to show your page over here. Once I click onto it, your ad is over, right? Okay, your site will be organized like normal. You're going to be required to have a contents folder where you have your CSS files. There's only going to be one, right? Your scripts folder where you'll have many JavaScript files. We'll talk about that. Your assets folder that will have all of your site's image assets inside of there. Any image assets are all going to be inside your assets folder. And we'll talk about the structure of this, right? Internal documentation is normal, so comments, comment headers, and section headers for all your HTML, CSS, anything you use for JavaScript and so on. It's like normal. This is normal. You must share it on GitHub and be live somewhere. Okay, just like normal. These are all normal things. Okay, nothing new there. And if you notice, the whole thing when you add it all up comes out of 40 points that I'm looking at, but it's still worth 15% of your final grade. Okay, so. Again, it's a good balance. This is a little bit more in depth than I've given you so far, only because this is the final one. The most tricky one because there's a few things you need to know. Now, again, if you do well with this assignment 4, I'm telling you, you'll be much better off, when it comes to your final exam. Okay, if you do this, final exam will be much easier. Around assignment 4. Yes.
So you only just want the ad and nothing else.
I want it to be embedded on your page somewhere, right? So let's say you have your site. You have 5 pages on your site. You have your home page, you have your about page, you have your contact page, and you have your projects page, let's say, right? Well, you want it to promote projects. So most likely it should be somewhere on your landing page somewhere, right? That's where you should put it. Something that's going to draw the user to click on that page. Even though on your landing page you might have other things already that tell you to go there, right? This ad will be actually like something that moves, that draws the user's eye. That's what I want you to do. It's got to be tasteful. Sometimes what people do is they make it so that it looks like it's part of the page. Like, for example, like a little ant that crawls along the page on the top corner, and it goes off the page and comes down at the bottom corner, right? You can do that. And you can still do it with an ad, as an ad, right? Or maybe there's a character that walks across the page in the middle and kind of points down, say, take a look at my project down there, right? And the little dialogue comes up that people read that says, it's a really cool project over here, check it out, kind of thing. And then walks off the screen again. My advice to you is keep it simple. Don't make it so it's undoable, or if it's beyond your skill set. If you're not an animator, or if you're not an artist of any kind, right? I don't expect you to make your own graphics for this. It could be just simple text, or if you want to take an image of your a screenshot of your application that you're writing, some project you're using, you can use some part of that to animate. And we'll talk about which part. Okay. So it has to be realistic and it has to be tasteful. That's what I'm looking for. So nothing too crazy, right? And use, of course, all the technologies I'm going to be showing you now. Any other questions around assignment 4? Alex, it looks like you have some. No, you're good? All right, let's move on. So I'm going to stop recording now, right? And because this is all around assignment 4. And then what I'll do is I'll start recording another part that's about CreateJS, an intro to CreateJS. So that way you're not confused when you watch the videos. Okay.